Well, we'll start. Hello, Rita. How you doing? Can you hear us?
Good morning.
Good morning, morning. So we're gonna get started. The rest of us will catch on since we are recording. We'll keep the flow so that people can catch on with it when they come back to it. So once again, thank you for being with us or watching this. This is our how-to session Wednesday, and we will be going over conversation around marketing, questions, deeper insight that we would need to cover to learn to be efficient as we roll out these process to be successful. Um, do you have any questions for now, Rita, since you're with us? Anything? I remember yesterday you had a question going back on what we discussed, the tree, the organization tree, just in case, or what happens when you have multiple services involved in your organization. So I was preparing a little bit of continuation on that so that that could have its own visual frame so we can work with. And I was going to show also how the process starts. Well, the CRM conversation actually started when we were looking at this prospect journey, this client experience journey that we're trying to create. Oh, we have a few guests coming in. We'll let them in. I hope there wasn't an issue with you didn't have any trouble logging in, Rita, when you came in? Hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys
No,
for joining
not at
us.
all.
Dina, Jackie, Johnny, Marta, Sarita, thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure when we get together to talk to each other about what we like the most, marketing and learning how to do it the right way. So before you came in, I was positioning a little bit what we were going to be doing today, following through the course of the discussion that we started. But before we do that, as usual, we'll open the floor for a few questions if you have any concerning Now site or any other general marketing questions that you would have, difficulty that you would have encountered, things that you would want to know.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, as usual, during the conversation, at any point in time, you will be able to ask your question. To keep it organized, I just ask that you raise your hand. I'll bring you in the fold so you can ask your question and everybody can join into the share and the insight received. We also have Robert with us, my co-host, helping us in the chat. So if you don't want to ask your question directly, you can always put them in the chat, and if need be, he'll bring them forward. But he's always very efficient at answering questions, so I doubt that there will be a problem. Okay, so we'll jump into where we were yesterday to keep the flow of the conversation going. I'm just going to share my screen so we have what we had in front of us in perspective. Can you guys all see my screen? Perfect.
Coming up.
Uh,
Yeah, there it is. I see
there
it.
it is. Okay. Might be a little slow. Okay, perfect.
You're good to go.
Good to go. So yesterday we were looking at this business mapping of our operation, of our client journey, and how they constantly will intertwine, communicate. And this is actually what the CRM is doing in the middle, allowing us to communicate with the client, share our intentions when they are also have the opportunity to share their feedback. And it's that constant communication that allows you to optimize your business approach, optimize your service, and grow your clientele. Now, one of the question we had, or one of the concern we had leaving the room was, how does this apply when you have multiple products? I went over the conversation, but I think it's something that we should cover again. As I recommended, I put it on the wall so that I can understand it visually. Although we always have a good grasp of what we are supposed to do or what we're trying to do, the idea is actually coming to terms with it throughout the process. And you can see that what you're doing when you are expanding your product offers or your service offers. It's really just expanding this setup box a little bit deeper than it was. Initially, we just had the service setup, and from there, we were going to the point of sale and the client support. In the case where we have more than one service, jump to the other side there. In the case that we have more than one service, what we are doing is just expanding this box, right? For each services, there will be a marketing approach. There will be a point of sale. There will be specific dedicated client support. As simple as offering one service, but 3 tiers. All right, I offer marketing consultant service. We don't all need the same marketing advice, or we don't all have the same marketing needs, or we're not all at the same marketing level or interest. So I could have this beginner, this intermediary, this elite service approach. And in the end, all I'm doing, again, is expanding the tree. Call this what you want: business organization, business tree, a journey tree. In the end, we're all pretty much very familiar with this type of approach. Putting boxes, putting labels on these boxes, aligning them so that we understand which step-by-step process we're going through or we're taking. And again, they still will interact with the client overall. Yes, and this is where your CRM comes in. The conversation, the need, the approach that you will be handling throughout the conversation for service one won't be the same for service 2 or service 3. So yes, the conversation and the service approach will slightly vary depending on the tier, the product, or whatnot. But in the end, all this follows the same customer journey. And in the end, we all want them immersed in the overall business brand and part of our legacy, the continuation of our service. Right? So keep that in mind when you are ultimately what I, or generally following that KISS approach, not only in the conversation, but in the structure of your organization. You really want to start with one leg, master the conversation, the setup, the process, the flow. And once you have that first run, then you can duplicate that in for next service. So even if, for example, I'm planning on releasing a 3-tier service, in the presentation or in the rollout, I will start with tier 1, then implement tier 2, then implement tier 3. It actually is great for you. Why? Especially when you're at the beginning. Why? Because you get to master the process, but you also get to create a flow as you're progressing. Because in the grand scheme of things, if I'm rolling out 3-tier service and I'm starting with the first one, knowing that when the people are done with that first cycle, they'll move on to the upsell, the next cycle, right? It allows me to start create a wave of service, only open service to when the demand is there or when the demand has been created, right? In terms of organization, in terms of budgeting your efforts, right? Because budgeting is not just the financial expenses, it's you. You don't want to burn out. If you're doing too many things at the time, you might get crossed lined, right? So hammering one leg of your service at a time allows you to have a scaled approach, optimize implementation, because all the mistakes that were done during the rollout of the first phase won't be carried over to the second phase. Okay, so this is generally my recommendation. But again, I'm also one who loves challenges. So if you want to start full force, go ahead. but understanding that now we're looking at replicating one process 3 times, at least in the building of it, in the testing of it. Working for the first part will allow you to set the second one. Now, how does all that applies to the CRM? Because in the end, this is where we're going. The CRM comes in when we are handling the conversation, the client interaction. And to have a fruitful interaction and to be able to also automate it properly, we need to plan it out. Very important. I added an extra, actually, I updated this document or added it as an extra document in the team section. Let me drop all the links in the conversations for those who are new or do not have it. I'll put all the links in the chat so that way you can make your way to the team section, have access to these documents, and make good use of them. Especially the organization tree here. If you don't want to reproduce it, this is the foundational one, basically, that everybody will need to start with. Fundamentally, I should have said, fundamentally that everybody will need to start with. So we're going to keep that in mind or in front of you. You can start also by that, by organizing your current process, making sense of it, and then going into the expansion of the conversation. Okay, so I added another document here just to dig deeper in the understanding of what this is about or how it works, right? In the grand titles, you already understand what you're doing or should have a clearer picture. Your business operation is the backbone of your delivery. If you're not organized, at least to send an email, good luck sending any type of content out there. Right? If you haven't established your brand, if you haven't established your value proposition, you can't go to a meeting and pitch. Right? The client journey is the emotional arc engagement. And we know how important emotions are in our approach. We spend a whole 2-3 hours talking about trigger stacking. And by the way, at this point, nobody will have a problem knowing what they need to say in their email. We have nailed that one to the board. We know the framework for the messaging. We know the intentions that we need to pursue, at least in one campaign following the sales flow. So that conversation is something that we can always go back to. And we know how important they are, right? And the emotions, again, follow the same prospect journey. I have to discover, consider, convert, you fulfill the service, and then we build on that loyalty process. It's always the same thing. It won't change, right? Unless the world flips upside down, this is usually the process. And again, if you look at it, it's the sales flow. Connecting, building a rapport, presenting, following up, inviting to a meeting, closing a sale, and creating that retention relationship, that ongoing relationship, right? We all know it. It's just in the mix of ideas that we forget the steps that we're following. Go ahead, Robert.
So you're taking me on this journey as I'm listening to you, and it literally takes me back to my direct marketing days. Imagine, if you guys will, all of this stuff. It seems like a lot, but what I was going to say is imagine being able to do this all within the matter of minutes.
That's it.
Minutes.
That's
Like
it.
literally going and knocking on somebody's door, saying hi, giving that great first impression, building that rapport, changing the customer state, going right into the presentation, closing them, and then making them feel good for what they just did. Minutes. Minutes, my friends. Minutes.
It's an art. It's an art that you grow to love. Sometimes we think that these processes are something that we have to learn by force of habit only. There's a science to it. There are scientific study on how our mind work, hence NLP, scientific approach behind philosophical concept, right? And the idea or the trick for us is to know them and be able to apply them quickly. And the way we do that is by knowing those terms. And you know how your brain works. When you have taken the time to study something and it's etched in your mind, there things become trigger, right? Hence trigger words, trigger emotion. This word will trigger all these memories, all this expertise, and it comes into the conversation right away. Hence the importance of active listening in the content in the context of exchanging with your audience, with your clients, but also active thinking when you're writing these conversations and reading them back. It's even more delicate in the DM world. You say something and I didn't mean to say, oh, I didn't mean it like that. Or you said it like that, right? The power of words, the impact of them, right? Very important. Just by the titles, you can find yourself. And this is where I wanted. Or we're going to start expanding a little bit, going back to now segmentation, right? We have been covering that words. It has been coming across our conversation. I know that segmentation is a big word when we talk about CRM, and maybe I made it a big deal when it's not, because the only thing the CRM is supposed to do, as we've been covering, is track the engagement, help you with automation, but ultimately deliver the experience to the client in a way that feels personal. And remember, that email, when you open it up and it says, "Hi, Virgil. Hi, Robert." Well, the connection or the personal space is here. I'm reading you directly into my mind, right? That's the importance of email. It's the oldest tool in the trade since the era of digitalization. It was the first. Email was to marketing what Facebook was to social, to word to mouth. Changed the game completely when it came about, right? And it's still a powerful tool. It's still at the center of many strategy. If any, the retention. Go ahead, Robert.
Technically, it was MySpace.
Well, yeah, yeah, I was like, MySpace came first, and but it was really Facebook that launched that, because I had my first account was a MySpace account. And it was a friend who opened it. It was like, what is it? I was like, that's so complicated. He was actually the first one who opened up my OVRG apparel MySpace. I don't even know what happened to that account. It must be in the ether somewhere.
That's
But then
just
after that, Facebook came in. MySpace was a little bit complicated. Well,
that's just to date ourselves and keep people thinking about how old you are.
ah, keep guessing, keep guessing. I'm ageless. So, so very important that understanding. Once that is understood, then the mechanic of using a CRM will come naturally. Because whether the CRM takes you to the moon or down to the core of the earth, it's always going to follow the same process. It's sending and receiving and managing your ability to talk to a single client or a group of clients. That's what a CRM is doing, right? So take the fear or of understanding or the fear of it, and let's shift it to just a framework behind where the CRM comes in, right? Because you plug your CRM essentially, as we discussed, at two stages of your process. When you're acquiring clients for interest, for conversion, and when you're closing the business. Since often enough, the CRMs are not necessarily the one that will enable for direct billing unless there's some kind of integration or whatnot, right? Or in cases, as we are in the network marketing affiliate world, we have an outside CRM that handles the transactional. We get basically our commissions and we have to continue the relationship. Hence, the idea of exporting our strategy to other tools that are more flexible, more adaptable to our brand. Okay, so always keep that in mind. It's just a tool. I use it either to manage the conversation, manage the relationship, or close the deal and then manage the relationship, right? The sequence in which you manage the relationship, you will see, will come naturally because it's that sales flow, that rapport, that emotional arc. Go ahead, Robert.
I just want to piggyback off of what you said in case people don't understand what you just said in layman's
Mm-hmm.
term. To me, the CRM is really going to depend on where you're at in the relationship and also how experienced you are in the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
If you're somebody like myself, you may not need the social to lead. You may not need to go and, okay, I just met this person, let me put them into my CRM. Like what Virgil was saying, many times people don't go into my CRM unless A, they're coming through one of my sales pages, which of course I'm okay with that, or B, once I've initiated that sale or I've had that conversation through social media as an example, and they decided to join my team. Well, they join my team, then yeah, that's even more of a reason for me to put them into my CRM. But the point that I'm making here is people will go into your CRM at different points within that process, just really depends on you, how well you know your business, and how well you're using the CRM as well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to throw that out there.
Fundamentally, you can actually create a CRM system without necessarily a CRM tool, right? Because if you have a way to send an email, receive the email from that conversation, keep that dynamic going, you don't need a big tool. You can do this. As a matter of fact, the concept of CRM came from the usual administrative process of a business handling their clients. We were handling the client's relationship and managing it way before the concept of these tools, these softwares came in. You are involved in a client relationship management the moment where you start doing business, the moment where you start network marketing. That's the understanding, right? And just like Robert said, right, the acquisition can happen in different way. You can talk to me and say, I really like your stuff. Can I receive more information? Here's my name, here's my email, and I'll manually put you in and send it to you. Go ahead, Robert.
I was just thinking as well, since we're going down the history path here, I look at this like a CRM is the old school Rolodex, right? For those of you that have been around for any amount of time. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can do it all the old school way, but why would you? Right? If you can get your hands on a tool, especially like NowSite, and you've got a CRM that's involved, I found it was really funny and cute and awesome that one of our friends, Vicky, when she came on board, she didn't even realize that she had the ability to have the CRM just with the My AI. So even at the lower portion for now side of having my
Mhm.
AI, it's a valuable, valuable tool. Sure, you could do the upgrade, get the social lead to nav, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But for myself, I find that I don't even use that much, but I already know the process, like I mentioned, right? So it's definitely helpful for people that are brand new, don't know what to say, what to do, what direction, those kind of things. So I definitely recommend having a CRM over not having one versus trying to go old school and, do the whole Rolodex thing.
It's not having an understanding, not using a CRM in this age is like saying, I'm going to do this without AI. I'm good enough. You can't. You won't. Because the whole point is the Rolodeck at one point gets full, right? When I was doing this back in the days, I'm pretty sure you guys saw these type of transparent those business card holders, those big ones where you have all the card holders. Well, that was my first contact list. That was my first CRM. That was my first acquisition. I would go into do you have a business card? I'll give you a call. Put it in there. Put it in there. Open that. Nothing to do. And then just yeah, call this person. I remember. Do you remember me? Yeah, we spoke a little. That's how you were managing your relationship. No technology, raw paper and pen. But now you don't even type. You don't even write. Sorry. Now we're not even typing anymore. So soon we'll be dictating what we want to the AI and it will giving us back, right? There's already that. Ooh, that sign. Well, it's already doing that, right? Sometimes you talk about things and you go on your computer and voila, like, hey, what's going on? So this is what the understanding of the CRM is. And when you put this together with segmentation, it starts making perfect sense. I need to talk to specific clients a specific way. I need a process that I'm following. And with the right tool comes in the automation. Okay. What does this look like in the whole conversation? I'm going to try to see if I can do something here. Yes, let me split this here. And I'm just going to. So that way we can see the impact of this conversation in our CRM approach or in our email approach, I should say, to be specifically, right? Because in this part of the conversation, we are saying CRM, but we're specifically thinking about email. However, the CRM goes across. In the case of NowSite, the whole infrastructure of NowSite is built around the CRM. The My AI and social media tool are meant for you now to be able to put people into that CRM by default. This is why whatever section of the service you have access to your CRM. The website, same thing. It's meant to acquire. What's going to put here? All those, the lead, self-explanatory. We're putting people in our CRM directly based on qualifying criteria, right? So this is why the CRM is embedded, and this is how you have to understand NowSite. It's a set of marketing tool built around a CRM or a specific client relationship management tool, because this is how, in the end, you sell through relationship and managing the back and forth, right? So can you guys see both of these screens? I share a double screen here. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that, what does that look like in our CRM or email arrangement, right? Remember, we have the client experience journey, and the first thing is interest, sales, care after sale, community, and legacy. And you can see in plain terms, we are introducing our brand, we are creating the relationship, we are creating the brand experience, we are consolidating the relationship, and we're creating future growth, right? We all agree that at each point of this journey, the conversation will be different. What you say to somebody when you're caressing their interests are not the same thing that you're saying when you're trying to close the deal. Might be a little bit more pressure there. When the relationship is ongoing, there's this give and take, right? So there's an intense back and forth to make sure that you're available until I can fly from my own wings. And then after that is me going through the community, the other users and whatnot, right? So when you're looking at your email structure, right? Because we often talk about a campaign, but in the whole exercise of your approach, you will have multiple campaigns. The campaign to acquire, the campaign to convert, the campaign to maintain that relationship, right? And if you were to name these campaigns by the segments in according to their journey, then at the interest level, what we are doing, let me just put this here, sort them out. It's going to be a little bit better. So at the interest level, what we are doing, is looking to welcome them, right? So all the conversation, all the series, whether it's 3, 5, 12 emails in that welcome to IMI solution. I'm taking IMI as an example for this framework. So everything in that welcome campaign is meant to convert you, to get that meeting going, to get that consideration feeling up, leading you to that conversion. And remember, when I was talking about CRM, I said, well, people will move from one CRM, the general, for example, acquisition list, to the conversion list. And then from the conversion list or the converted list to the retain list, right? This is a deeper elaboration of this. So I welcome you to my brand conversation. The next step, once you have converted, the next email campaign name would be the onboarding. The famous onboarding that we're always discussing. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Depending on your onboarding process, you might go to step 30. Break it down if that is the case, but this is where those conversion or these onboarding emails will be found, right? After that, we have the client care. What happens when the client basically has conversation around return policies, around cancellation, around anything that you already prepared yourself for, strong of your Q&As? What happens? Well, this is when we have our email care and inquiry, right? So you see, it becomes logic. And whatever amount of emails I have in this to handle the inquiry, they'll go in there. Could be one, it could be two, sorry for canceling, or book a meeting so we can handle the inquiry, whatever the strategy is. And again, we have to map out the strategy in each one of these sections, the interest, the sales, the care, the community, the legacy, because that strategy equates to the process that we're following email after email in that campaign logic, right? And community, well, community announcement. And depending on the strategy that I have for my community announcement, the amount of email will follow. And then we have the famous or infamous newsletter, right? And again, there's a strategy there. More open. I could not get you. And keep in mind that going back to what we're discussing, some of those will be directly automated for run. Hence, for example, the welcome to IMI solution. This is a list. This is our acquisition list. This is the list that usually will grow because this is the list that we're constantly running email to get two or one of two reaction. Either you unsubscribe or you buy in. So that's one of the lists that grows, right? The conversion is the next list. Once I said, okay, you know what? I decided to cross it to buy in. I'm in that section. Technically, I'm in that list for the time of the onboarding process. Then after that, I am moved out of that list, right? So the ones that you usually are going to be automating, at least at first, are the welcome email and the community announcement and the newsletter. These here usually will require a more hands-on approach, right? As you're onboarding, the experience might be different. And this is when the client will require aftercare service, aftercare advice. And this is when you might be bouncing between these in terms of handling these inquiries. How do you know? You have Q&As. You have planned. How do you know what your client may say? You have a client profile. You know what the concern is or the interest is or the necessity is, the need that you're feeding in, the benefit that you're approaching. So you already know where the general bulk of the question will come from. So you have already applied that. Same goes for the community announcement. Right? Often enough, there's a lot that we want to say at welcome, a lot that we want to sell during the onboarding, but we need to spoon speed our audience while we're also setting up the expectation for more to come. Right? So, community announcement. Once you've purchased, welcome to the community. Whether you're new, whether you've been here for ages, or you might be leaving, well, until you have crossed the door, you're part of the community. Any announcement of value, come in. Right? A newsletter, any updates, fillers that you want to close in your strategy, your breathing time, right? Keep the rhythm of a relationship is what keeping a rhythm in the relationship is what makes it interesting, right? You don't want a roller coaster, but you do want motion, right? Because emotion create motion. So if there's no emotion in your community, it means there's no emotion going through there. There's no passion. There's no connection. And it means ultimately that you're not inciting that interest. It's fading away, right? So these are the strategies when we're talking about mapping out the details of the strategies in the interest solicitation, in the closing approach. This is what it is. How, based on my understanding of my product and my understanding of the client, will he react when I say this? Or once I say this, I know that he will react like this. Hence the journey that you map out. Right? Sometimes, as we discuss, we will come into the process. For example, with the product, we got to sell. Okay, so we started our business roadmap with a sell. Wow, I had this thing, I sold it, and now I think that there's a business behind, right? We now have the obligation to understand, okay, well, the sale happened here. All the process that I reversed engineered when the sale came in, is something that I now need to map to establish the way forward instead of backwards, going ahead with this business interest. Because this is when I can start thinking about scaling, expanding, and duplicating that speed. Good for everybody so far? Okay. Notice that in the emails here, for those who are looking at statistics, and we're going to dive into the CRM and client interaction, and ultimately we're going to want to start understanding the dynamics between those numbers. Go ahead, Vicky.
I can't get online. Can
Oh,
you
sorry,
answer
you were having a little trouble hearing you.
Rita's question? So, are you going to keep the acquisition list and the conversion list when you move it from the acquisition to the conversion? Do you remove it from another list?
Well,
She made, and I've been trying to figure out um how
yes,
to handle that.
yes. I'll say this naturally, right? If you got to discover me and then you got to purchase, technically you're no longer part of the same group, right? So to manage our relationship better, I should separate you from the general list. Okay. In the setup here, I have this general contact list where everybody is. And then I have added, depending on the interaction, specific use in different lists as well. When I need to make a general announcement, I'll go to that general list because you're in that list and the information is general. But when I'm addressing you specifically or addressing your category, well, there's a specific rollout of email that it's being sent out. It is not good practice for me to talk to you like you never purchased or never built a relationship with me before. It's like yourself, you're resetting the clock, right? So keep that in mind. Initially, and this is why I say we have an acquisition list, we have the conversion list, and then we have the retention list, right? Ultimately, everybody comes through the acquisition list, right? Unless I have made the sell directly, I have basically acquired your interest, did the whole thing live, and got you to purchase, and now you're in my uh, uh, purchase CRM, meaning that you're going to receive your bill and everything that is around the purchase and the care, but you're also going to be welcome and introduced properly from the beginning, right? We jumped in the sauce. Let's take it back. You have the product. You'll love it. Let's get to know each other better. This is who we are, this is, right? Same approach, for example, when it comes down to online stores, fashion, for example. When you land on a website, you don't on a clothing website, generally, they land you in the boutique because they want that sale first. Once you purchase, you start looking at, okay, what's the rest of the brand information, trying to get in touch in line with the policy, the philosophy, if the clothes fits your emotional persona, right? So this is usually how it works. So keep that in mind. We have a general list because this is where how people are generally acquired. We have the conversion list. And yes, you have, if you're not moving them, you're at least adding them to that conversation, right? We started all in the how-to newsletter. And for example, I'll tell you, there's 250 people altogether currently in the how-to newsletter. There's only 56 of us in the Virtual Course Library, right? So when I'm sending these invitations, there's specific conversation that I'm having with the general group that are not necessarily in line with what I'm having with you that are in the course, because I know that you have opted for that course. Now, generally what I do, when you do come into the Virtual course, I will add you as well to my how-to newsletter, because this is my general acquisition tool, right? This is my general list. If you're part of the how-to, you will receive all the information about the how-to. And you will receive also the notification about the recap. But when I'm about the masterclass, but when I'm recapping on the masterclass, I'm only sending it to you who have an interest, the first line of announcement. And then after that, I'll expand to the bigger fold. Okay, so you have to add or move them from one list to the other. I'll give you another example. Depending on the opportunity that you have a CRM that is outside and outside. So when people are acquired or converted there, you have to take them from that CRM and put them in this CRM. So you're transferring them from list and from CRM altogether. Make sense? Not confusing? I'll try to draw next. That's a good question. Sorry?
I agree with that because I think you should have the general list. You should always have that general list, just like what Robert's saying too. And you said the same thing. And even if it's outside of our site, because there's certain things that you're just going to send to everybody. That makes sense to me because if I'm moving and moving, this like a newsletter, and it's a general newsletter, and you're updating things. That needs to go to everybody.
Exactly.
So that's the way I'm thinking. So you both of you clarified it more for me. So thank you.
Oh, pleasure. Good. Always, it's best to ask the question, even if we think that often enough, it's funny, we have the answers, because I'm pretty sure that when you're asking this question, you knew the process, you wanted confirmation. A little bit like the Matrix talk where she said, well, you have the answer, you just came to confirm what you know is right. Even when you know you're wrong, you're going to come and confirm whether you're wrong or right, at least when you're looking to optimize yourself and open to improvements. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
So just to kind of add on to that too, right? I'm thinking you want to have those two lists anyway. One is just the general list gathering, right? And it's all a filtering and sorting process anyway. But once that person has bought something from you, then yes, you want them on what we call a buyer's list because that's that list that you hear everybody talk about how when they say the money's in the list, that's why. Because they've already bought something from you. So now you've already gained that know, like, trust. They've bought something from you. Now you can even have a follow-up series and email, depending on what you're promoting, to say, hey, well, thanks for buying, appreciate your trust. If you love this, if you love that, check this out, right? And you can move into potentially getting more sales. That's how the whole thing works. What you want to be careful of though is gathering a bunch of people and then sending them offers for things that they didn't opt into, right? So you have to keep all that stuff separated, segregated. This is why this is a great class to pay attention to so that you don't kind of put your foot in your mouth, so to speak. At the same token, it's been said that you can't pitch the wrong person, right? If they need it, they need it, they'll take it. But at the same time, too, that's also another way for people to get off of your list by doing the wrong thing when potentially you can send them the right offer and keep them on the list and keep them as a buyer of yours, right? So the money's in the list. Same thing when I think of like boutique or anything like that. I'm thinking, okay, well, you have the storefront that gets them in the door, so to speak, so that they see it, they sign up for the newsletter. Next thing you know, hey, well, we've got a 40% sale. Same thing if you're in that type of business. If you're gathering up that list of people, well, it's not just the best thing to send that 40% coupon list to everyone, right? I would send it to everyone, especially my buyers, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So hopefully that
Right.
Yeah.
No.
makes sense
Yeah.
as well.
Good.
And now you,
Question. Oh, right. Go ahead, Rita. Okay. Sorry.
Hi, and thanks. Um,
You're welcome.
so I think in pictures, and there was a graphic that I saw that
Mhm.
listed a process, and I think Coach, you remember what this one is, and then they had everybody in one column, so to speak. So that first column would be the the general list of
Mhm.
prospects. Then when they move to the next section of the column, just move over one column, if they met certain criteria, you would move them to the next column. And the same thing with the next, and then until they finally purchased. So my question, I'm trying to line up what you're saying with those columns. So
Okay.
in terms of lists, I get the general list. I understand that. And then once they become buyers, I would think that the general list, okay, we're talking about multiple products. All right. I'm
Oh,
seeing,
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Right now, the journey is beyond the products because it's really this leg that we're looking at, the customer experience. Okay. First thing first, the columns that you mentioned were qualification stages, right? So what you were talking about is the strategy between the interest and the conversion, right? The what they displayed was okay, you guys all gonna come into the main conference room. We're gonna say, are you ready to get into this? Raise your hand. Those who raise their hand, let's go to the next room. Then, okay, you guys are ready? Now, we didn't tell you the price, right? It's $100. Who is ready? Some will raise. Okay, great. We'll get you there. Okay, now, you are the lucky few that are able and ready. We only process on credit card. Do you have your credit cards? Those who don't have a credit cards will follow a different path. You right? So these were the qualification stages. Right? Now, same thing. When they go into the conversion, okay, I've paid. Perfect. The rest of the conversation, this general arc is followed. Even if within the care, the strategy or the conversation will match the type of product that you purchased,
Okay.
right? But this is the same.
Okay.
Coming back to the money is in the list. Oh my God. I'll give you a simple example. You are selling products, and this was a strategy that I had to discuss over and over and over again with people who had health and wellness product, right? So you have a product. Let's say it's a bottle of vitamins, 30 pills that have to be taken on a daily basis. You purchased this product from me at the beginning of the month. I know that in 30 days, you are running out of pills. So it means what? Day 29, I'm going to send you a reminder. If you're following this, you're probably almost at the end of your bottle. Now is the time to put in the refill or order, right? So sustain, sell. Now, other thing, when you're taking, for example, cosmetics or any wellness products, you have a package. Take this in the morning, take this at night, or are you using our shampoo? You love it? Wait till you see what the cream does to your face. What do you shower with? Right? So month after month, hence that promo, right? Buy, subscribe, and get access to exclusive deal that only the inner circle of membership has, right? So the money is in the list. I had a client that came through who had a company and had a listing of clients and was still concerned with how to get more clients. And I said, okay, well, are you trying to get more clients or get more sales? Because if you're trying to get more sales, from the looks of it, you have a whole lot of clients and you have a whole lot of new products. Have these clients been updated with the upgrades? Have you offered any system change or evaluation? And he was like, oh my God, yeah, there was just a rollout that back to business. I didn't see him for another month. He was busy handling the money in that list, right? So your list, and even more, we shouldn't even be calling a list. It's your relationship book. All these people are a relationship that you're maintaining. And remember, if this relationship goes sour, even if the product is good, they might stop buying from you. So it's the relationship that is the most important, right? So that relationship list is to be handled with care, especially the retention list, because remember, if you're in my retention list, you went through the whole emotional arc engagement. We are good friends. I should be checking up on you, treating you right, giving you perks and such. Because if you don't, and somebody that sells the product does, they value my business more. You heard that one before. You said it before. They value my business more. I'll go there. Why? They gave me a glass of water when I came. And last time it was hot. You had me sweating in front of the store, waiting in line, didn't even hello. Your product is good, but you suck. I will go away. Just like music these days, right? We don't even listen to the music first. We look at the character. I like this character. His music is okay. Well, it's an acquired taste. When it's really loud, it's banging, right? But when you turn it down, you don't hear anything. But it's okay. I like the guy. I like the effort. We buy that experience. We buy that brand. Make sense? Okay. So again, as we're going in, we're going to even get into more speed, right? Because now we know what is organizing an email strategy around an intention equates to. I have that onboarding campaign. Sorry, I have that introductory campaign, especially if I'm doing cold marketing.
Real
That
quick,
introductory campaign list. Sorry, go ahead.
real quickly, Rita, were you done? Did you have another question, or is that a residual hand raise?
No, I have another question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I
Okay.
thought so.
All right. So managing, I'm going back to what you said about
Mhm.
the customer experience and remembering who list whose pills are getting ready to
Mhm.
work. Okay. So in that respect, I look at, like, okay, so it's fine if you have one person, but if you have 1,000, that gets to be cumbersome. So is that something you would put in your CRM as a reminder? You know how those lists pop up for the day, you can put that in, and that's one way that can be managed using that. Okay, thank you.
That's when basically, first of all, yatsa! If we get to 1,000 people problem, because we're rolling into the dough technically. We did this 1,000 times. So we already have that science down packed. So when we get to that, we know how to handle it. Right? It's good to know that we want to go to this. It's good to know that the automation will allow us to do so. But it's really that one step at a time that gets us going. Right? And yes, we want to get to the volume. Remember, automation, I hinted at that last time. Automation will kick in at certain part of the process, right? Mass emailing for acquisition, automation. Mass emailing for a newsletter, for announcement, automation. Specific client inquiry response, be careful. Automation is when you're closed. But when you're live, they want that answer, they want that support. Right? So there's a dynamics here that you are navigating. But automation, again, the volume is something that you anticipate. Right? And how do you anticipate? Well, foundational blocks have been put in place. If I do this with one customer and he's happy, what am I going to do? I'm going to do it for the whole 1,001 customer to come. Hence that also Yatsa case. I didn't know what I was doing. I made a sell. Okay, I'm going to reverse engineer what I did with that first client, mapping out the process so then I can scale it to 100, 1,000, a million people. And as we grow in strength, our CRM need will become greater, right? And this is also why I said in the age of AI, we have to be very careful in a sense that if I'm going to that AI, it's because I know exactly what I'm going to put in and get out and move on. Otherwise, if I'm spending too much time in the lab, time is money. As a business, and this is in my current situation, I count my seconds. Even if I'm not doing anything, what was I taking during that time? Was it fruitful? Was it productive? Time is money, right? So you want to invest your time properly. It's also back to that idea of we need to get the ball rolling because the world is getting more and more fast and agile. And this is us also adapting, right? Testing, coming back, and scaling as we go. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
So again, as you talk, you take me on this journey, and I'm reminded back in the day. And I just want to say this for anybody that's watching, especially if you're new and you're like you haven't gotten that first sale yet. It's quite funny and exhilarating. And I remember this is what's coming to my mind of learning that process and then applying it. And then that first person after the no, 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 because I didn't do a great job in my presentation, that first person's actually saying yes. And you're like, what? They said yes? Right? Just be careful not to blow it once they say yes. Then okay, great. This is what I've been training for. This is my moment. Get them to the checkout. Don't say anything else. Get them to the checkout. Let them get signed up. And then thanks for your trust. Get them plugged into whatever the system is. On that note, I appreciate everybody being here. Vicky said that she appreciates what we do. We appreciate those of you that show up. Because again, that's 80% of the battle. And if you show up enough times, all these little pieces will be put together. And eventually you'll have that glorious presentation. That person will say yes, and you'll be all giddy inside. And it's just a wonderful moment. And once you do that once, guys, you can do it over and over and over and over. So I
Okay.
think we will see you all some
Monday.
Yeah, some of you guys on Saturday, if not
Oh,
Monday.
perfect. Again, it was a pleasure, guys. I know this was valuable. I'm using it myself, and everybody should. And definitely, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Hit me up. We're part of the community. Um, I haven't rolled out the workshop for next week. It is next week. I will do so, and we will be really looking at applying our CRM, right? So already take in this information, go look at your business opportunity. Actually, don't go look at your business opportunity, go look at your brand book, understand your audience, understand your UVP. Take those combo stacking approach, come into this tool, create a campaign, start with the first one, the acquisition one, and roll out the conversation in sequence. Keep it simple. And again, to do that, you must have your marketing asset list ready.
Hey, and one last thing on that Friday meeting. Saturday the 19th is my birthday. It
Woo!
it would be an amazing birthday treat for me to see some of everyone, so, like how I said this, some of everyone's participation to see all of your works in all of their glory, what you've created so far with your pamphlet, like what Virgil's talking about, and all those things that we've covered. That would be a wonderful birthday treat for me to see all of you guys' work up to this point. So I look forward to those of you that treat me with that
Ooh.
present.
Challenge accepted, everybody. I speak for everybody. Challenge accepted, Robert. We will come, we will impress just with that smile on your face. We will. I know.
And Robert already had you on my calendar, so you weren't going to be forgotten.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Just bring your spears, girl. Bring them.
Okay. Again, really love you guys. It is in truth. And let's see. Send me the link for the Saturdays. Can I come, please? What's the process? I want to be part of the inner circle, Robert. I like that hand gesture. Monetization. We're going to be talking about that as well. Have a great end of the day, guys.